Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Becky Thompson, and I'm with the Kentucky Beef Network. We know that marketing cattle is a very popular topic with our cattlemen throughout Kentucky, so KBN is excited to partner with the Kentucky Livestock Marketing Association to bring you a series of marketing webinars over the next 2 weeks. Tonight's webinar is the second of our series, and it will be a more informal evening where we will be asking questions to our market managers from across Kentucky. Tonight's webinar is being recorded, and we will be sharing the links later next week. Before we get started, I want to touch on a few Zoom housekeeping tips. You can submit comments to the chat box at any time by simply clicking chat, typing your comment, and then hitting submit to submit your comment. The question and answer box at the bottom is for all of your questions that you have for our panelists this evening. Once you submit your question, we can choose to type a response or answer it live. Throughout the week, we've collected questions to help us get started, but I also want to invite all of you to submit your questions throughout the evening. While we will do our best to get to all of your questions, if we run out of time, I encourage you to reach out to your local market manager and spend some time asking him your questions that maybe we didn't get to. With us this evening, we are excited to have 4 of our market managers from across Kentucky. I want to welcome all of you with us this evening and get us started by telling us a little bit about who you are and the market you represent. So I'll just go across my screen, and Johnny, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Thanks for having us too. I'm John Wheatley. I'm with the Washington County Stockyards. I'm a co-manager along with Jeff Shoemaker, and our field rep is Michael Lacey. And we've been in business here since 1973 is when this market opened. It was founded by mostly the local people here, the farmers. We created this and sold shares in building this stockyard back in 1973, and been in business ever since. Gone through a lot of changes over the years, but we have come a long ways and hope to go further in the future.
Okay, with that, we'll go to the group from Farmers Livestock Market in Glasgow.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you all for having us as well. My name is Brad Towle. I'm one of the co-managers here at Farmers Regional Livestock with my brother Ryan. He's also co-manager. And then we have our office manager here with us, Mr. Scott Broyles. But again, thank you for being here. Farmers Regional Livestock, we've been here as part of this for the 4 years now. And I've started some new programs, different sales, and something really to be proud of, and happy in the direction we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Brett, we'll go to you next.
All right, Becky, thank you for having us here. I'm Brett Carver, manage the yard here at Albany, Kentucky. It's fairly a new barn. It was built in 2012. We have a good group of here that we've got started with. We pride ourselves in putting our customers first, and we appreciate this time to be able to speak with them.
And lastly, Randall with Paris.
All right, thank you. I'm Randall Arnett with Paris Stockyards. I'm the manager and co-owner. We've been in business since, well, I've been here since 2012 as an owner, and took over the managerial duties in 2019, and appreciate y'all having us.
Well, we're happy to have all of you with us this evening. To get us started, the first question I have is, what is something unique about your market or a unique service that you offer to your customers? Brad, we'll start with you.
I guess the first thing I would say is we offer not only graded sales that we've done, Glasgow's done for years on every Monday, but we've now added weigh out sales, second and fourth Thursday. So we offer farmers, whichever way they would like to sell their cattle. We offer, the traditional, the older way, the grading cattle, and then also the weigh out sales. So that's something that we've made available and really like to offer to our customers.
Great. Brett, do you want to go next?
Sure. We offer one of our unique things is we offer a video. We actually sell where we go to the farm and we video load lots of cattle. Those cattle never have to be brought to the stockyard. It's easier on the cattle. It's easier on the producer. And we also offer even deferred load lots. We'll sell out in future contract, maybe even we sold a load this week that's not picking up till September. So it's something extra that we give to our producers. And there's one of our biggest things is I've been to a lot of these markets and I think we have a lot of active buyers. We'll be 15 to 20 active buyers weekly. And anytime you got more buyers, you got a better market.
Randall, do you want to talk to us a little bit about what's unique to your market or services that you provide?
Oh, we provide a video sale just about like everybody else. When we try to do things hands-on, we'll go look at a lot of these cattle in the country and, do the best we can with our customer service.
Great. And lastly, Johnny.
Yes. We're pretty much in the same way as Randall spoke there. We do offer the video sales and, we do try to get on the phone a lot and talk to a lot of our customers and go out and see them. They have a lot of questions before their sales. A lot of times they want to know how the market's trending and things like that. So we spend a lot of time on the phone trying to prepare them for what it's going to be like the next following week, hopefully. Sometimes it's unpredictable, but we do.
Sure.
That's basically it.
Okay. So as we kind of go into some of the questions that we had submitted to us earlier this week, I'll kind of open up the floor and, if you all want to answer or you can take turns, but what are some challenges that you see on the horizon for your market as we look forward to the next 12 months coming out of COVID and some of those things? No.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Some of the biggest things I see is just none of us have a crystal ball. That's one thing me and all these other guys are going to agree on. Is something we talk about here in a minute, but none of us have a crystal ball. The price of these commodities, is going to in turn, be the price of this feed that our customers are going to have to be paying. And, the weather plays a lot in that. How much corn we get planted, it's going to make a big difference. But one of the biggest things that I see is something I'm sure we'll touch base on here later is, these buying stations selling cattle in the country. We see it a lot already in our fat cattle market. Packers have a monopoly on it. And that's one thing with these auctions that, you get a true price value of, of the market at the time, and when you take that true price discovery out of it, if you've got number one cattle, you need to be in the top setting of that, not just following along with what's going on and one person looking at your cattle.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
I agree with it. I think all of us would agree with that, the lack of transparency. Another thing that I see is fake meat and the false impression that the public's got with the fake meat. They'll throw a fit wanting things to be all natural and not genetically modified, but you can't actually produce this meat without, this fake meat without, it being genetically modified. It's just scientifically impossible to do that. I think that's something that may cut into some of our market share.
I agree. So as we move into, we had a question from the attendees. how do you all base your prices on feeder cattle from week to week? Are you looking at the futures market or the fat cattle market? So where are those base prices coming from?
I think most of ours would come from the feeder market, the feeder futures, more so than the fat cattle. We don't sell a lot of fat cattle, here in central Kentucky. So
Sure.
most of it's based off the feeder futures market.
Is that
I-
similar for everyone else?
I agree with it. Most of it's at market, and unless we're all lucky like we are this time of year, and it's based off some even of our local farmers. There's lots of these local farmers, buying grass calves to turn out, and that's where you see the spike in some of these prices you've seen lately.
So we had a question about, in Kentucky, we have a lot of small producers who can't sell full loads of cattle. What strategies or advice can you offer to them to help them leverage the best prices inside your all's market?
With us at Glasgow, we offer a Farmers Elite program where, our producers follow a protocol that we have set. With the cattle are weaned, a certain amount of days, have to have their vaccines. The one thing that we're proud of there is they bring those cattle in. We're able to commingle those into load lots. So help that producer that may have 5 head, 10 head, where he's available to get the opportunity to get that load lot price and add value to him. And that's something we pride ourselves on. We want every farmer to know it doesn't matter if you've got, 5 or 6 head or 500, we're going to get you the best we can. And that's been a good program for us. That's really added value for our producers.
Does anybody else have a similar program that they offer?
We do. We do here at Albany. We, on a weekly basis, of cattle, our dock slip. Each one cattle, it matter if you have 1 or you have 40. Names on the board. They announce cattle. They've had 1 round of shots, 2 rounds of shots open. So it doesn't matter if you have 5 or you sell a whole load lot. You're getting representation for what you have spent the effort to do.
That's been the biggest push for us also. It's just getting people to give shots and get these things weaned, get a good health program, and you can pretty much sell these cattle if they got a lot of protocol behind them.
We had a question about each week producers are looking at the USDA market reports that are listed on the Kentucky Department of Agriculture's website, and they see terms like fancy and value added. What do those terms mean for a cow-calf producer? Do you all know?
We
kind of look at our value added, they're going to be the weaned, backgrounded, preconditioned cattle. When we see fancy on our end, they're going to be what we call front field cattle, good condition, good health, really look good, as far as quality.
So I know last week when we spoke with Jim Carter from the Livestock Marketing Association, he spoke a lot about price discovery. How do we continue to capture true price discovery in an auction market when there's more transparency now than ever before, and we see cattle moving through a buying stations or selling directly off the farm into feed yards? That's a really tough question, I know.
No, it's not, Becky. Take them to the yards. All these.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those buying stations usually have to have some kind of price discovery. So, they're just coming from what the stockyards are selling, whatever region it's in. And, without a stockyards, they have no basis for what to price their cattle at.
And the other thing you run into, you're exactly right, is when you put them in a stockyard, wherever you go, whomever you go to, you've got competition. And, you know, where the buying station, you've got one bid. But when you've got like the people represented here tonight, and you've got people in that yard bidding on your cattle, who knows what they can bring when you've got two or more, you know, one or more people bidding. That's the great thing about an auction. You get the true value, and you've got people giving top dollar for what they've got. So that's the great thing about a sale.
I think that's one of the unique things about our Monday sale. It's a graded sale, and all the cattle from different farmers are commingled together. You know, your 5 weight black bulls, number 1 black bulls be together. You get the benefit of putting that package together. Then if you go to our Farmers Elite program, you get these commingled weaned cattle put together in load lots. Versus take them to a buying station where they buy them, break them apart, they put them in pot loads, and they make the money on them. That's not doing the producer any good at all.
Yeah, and Becky, when I talk to farmers about this, there's one thing that always pop up is it's to me it's pretty described by one thing. If you're having a land sale and you're selling your farm, you want 10 bidders there, or you want one. You know, I mean, at a buying station, you are not getting true price discovery. It's just not possible to happen when you have one buyer.
And there's many types of cattle out there too. Then sometimes those buying stations don't always represent every portion of the market. You know, you have good cattle, but you also have some other cattle that other people desire that they may not desire. So, you know, the marketplace is where to be is. So get the most guys looking at the cattle.
Plus, Becky, you'll also get a good check from a stockyards too, versus
Exactly.
You don't know what's
Yes.
Exactly. You've got the comfort when you pay commission from any of these guys represented here that when they take that custodial check to the bank, that check's going to fire. It's not going to come back. And, you know, that's to me one of the biggest advantages of paying commission. Absolutely.
Unless you get in commission, I've heard this, and all these other guys heard it too. You know, they don't try. Look, anybody think doing anything, you know, the days doesn't happen anymore.
So from a, how do we talk to producers? From where I sit within the Kentucky Beef Network world, I work with a lot of producers on the producer education side of things. And we get a lot of comments around commissions too high. It's not you know, they don't understand the purpose. Can one of you all kind of just talk a little bit about the benefit and the purpose of that commission and why it's there to protect? And Scott, you alluded to it a little bit around the custodial account some, but I think it's important to help, you know, talk about why it's there and what it helps do.
Honestly, I think if you look at the commission side of it, it's an investment for these producers to ensure that they get a good check and fair market price, you know, because there's like everybody's alluded to, there's, you know, 10 to 15, 25, 25 up to 25 people or 30 people that can buy your cattle at any one given time. And, you know, it's just an investment into their future. I mean, versus instead of looking at it as a, I don't know how you would say it. I look at it as an investment versus something that they're taking out their check. I mean, it ensures that they're getting a good check, and it ensures that they're getting fair market price at that given day, you know.
And they also get a lot of personal attention, a lot of hand holding goes along with that. Market's up, market's down. A lot of farm visits come along. People will ask, you know, what can I do to make my calf crop better? You know, there might be some genetic things they've missed. I just think there's a real personal side to the stockyard. I mean, any of these managers here go out and talk to the people.
Great. So I invite all of our attendees again, if you have questions for our managers, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. The next question I have is, as we look across the Southeast at market reports and markets in Alabama or Louisiana, Kentucky prices are better. We have a good marketing system and marketing structure here. Can you all talk about what makes the Kentucky markets better and more competitive?
A lot of that is your different grade of calf, a different quality of calf, different breeds. You'll get there's a lot of good cow and calf producers in Kentucky. Southeast Kentucky, edge of Tennessee. I mean, that's where a lot of your cattle come from that are what we call the good doing cattle. I mean, something that turns over, that makes money. I'm sure some of these other guys have the ideals too, but I mean, a lot of that'll be the quality of cattle that they have.
I think also you've had cost share money through the years, tobacco program that has enabled our farmers to go out here and maybe spend a little more for a bull or some cows, or some heifers. You have the Cape program where you have the bred heifers, the heifer program. So that's really enabled a lot of producers to enhance their genetics, up their program, to offer a better quality of animal when it comes time to sale. And I credit a lot of that to these programs that's been offered and producers taking advantage of it, giving them the opportunity to increase their herd and to make it better.
And you couple that with the requirements for being in those programs, BQA training, different things that are offered through the Kentucky Beef Network. People understand more about where to place the shots in the animal, so you have a better carcass going, to the feedlots. So I think it all ties in together, like you said.
You all alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I see a lot of emerging value-added programs like Natural, NHTC, Asian Source. What is a good way for a cow-calf producer to stay on top of those trends so that they know that trend's it's going to stick enough that they need to shift their management practices to fit those opportunities?
Visit your local yard man. All including us. I mean, we sell naturals. There is programs out there. Even visit your extension agents. They're there for your use. There's a lot of good information out there that a lot of producers, like you said, don't realize yet. Ways to upgrade their herds.
You also see it in your market reports around the state where people have the value added cattle, and it shows up in that area. You can see the difference in the prices, and that's what matters to most of them too.
How do you all feel that technology has changed the transparency of the open markets with the internet? You've got Google at your fingertips. You can see what market reports are from the Midwest. How has that changed how you all do business, or has it?
I think, the farmers, if they're wanting to purchase or if they're wanting to sell, you've got several different online opportunities through either DV auction or LMA to watch your local markets. You can watch them all over the state. People have it running in their offices, this, that, and the other. You can also bid and buy cattle there. So, technology, there's multiple ways you can put your fingers on the pulse of the market at any time.
So to follow that up, we talked about the market reports just a little bit earlier, but a question that's come in is the market seems so complex these days. Apart from the weekly market reports, what sources of market information do you recommend for your customers that they monitor to kind of keep a pulse of things?
Like I said, give your local yard a call, talk to the managers each week, kind of see what the trend is. Also watch other commodities, grain futures also kind of deciding factor on which direction cattle are going. So, I would say stay in touch with your livestock managers and then, watch other commodities, not just livestock.
And another thing, even if you can't make, get on, like they said, LMA, DV auction. I mean, all these guys on here, our sales are videoed live every week. Every time we have a calf sale on their videos, I mean, you get on there and watch a live sale, and it's almost the same being there. You can actually see what some prices and some good cattle are bringing.
The next question is a little, it's going to be a little long, but I would like all of you to answer it as you come from different parts of the state. So it asks what the percentage of buyer representation is in terms of backgrounders, local feeders, folks from the Midwest, local farmers. Can you all talk to just kind of what the makeup of the buyers are at your markets respectively? Do I need to pick somebody to go first?
I'm not going to say I'm going to be exactly on these percentages, but I mean, as far as cattle going west, I mean, you've got probably 30%, 30 to 40%, and I'm going to say 60% of those people will be backgrounders that's turning out cattle here.
Johnny, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'm about like him. I'm about 30 to 40%, depends on the size of the cattle, of course, that we're selling that day. But in this area, we have a lot of backgrounders around here close in our area. Been very fortunate in that area. So a lot of them, the calf crops, they stay around, they get worked and backgrounded around here. But I'm about like him. I'm, about 30, 40% of them go to the west and north.
Brad?
We'd be the same way, 30 to 40%, the cattle, depending on what they are, again, going west or north. And then, like I said, we're very fortunate to have a lot of backgrounders in the area. So a lot of these cattle are placed, around the area.
And Randall?
I think it holds true here also,
Okay.
between 30 and 50% on any given day. I mean, some days we have a lot of yearlings, and then there's a lot of days we don't have even a load of yearlings. I mean, probably 70 to 80% of them stay during that time. It just depends on any given day.
Sure. So the second part to that question is they also asked, what are on an average day, maybe we'll say in the fall, what's the percentage of stocker calves to 5 to 6 weights that you get through your markets? Or if you feel like, spring's more relevant because that's where we are right now. They're just kind of looking for a breakdown of the type of cattle.
I actually have a report here. This was for the week of 4/7. It showed 94% feeder cattle, 5% water, and then your other 1% would be, replacement cattle. And then that would definitely change at different times of the year.
Sure. Does that kind of hold true for the rest of you?
It's pretty much.
And that is actually in on your USDA report. That's actually listed at the top. They break it down in percentage of each sale.
So Scott, you might have to help me with this next one because I know we talked about it last week, but it asks about, are buying stations bonded the same as stockyards?
That's a good question. I've never been a part of a buying station. Brad, what would your thoughts be on that? Would they be bonded the same?
I think that I think they're classified as dealers, and right. Dealers are supposed to be bonded. think?
And
You
then
might be-
your bond is based upon your
Volume.
volume. So, you know, they could be doing more volume than their bond covers again, which puts you in risk, you know.
Sure.
The only difference I'm pretty sure is they don't have to have a custodial account, you know, and Stockyards does. But most of them should be bonded. They're supposed to be bonded.
But let's. or- for
Unless
these-
what? So the next question is kind of technical, but at times, why do buyers pay more for green cattle than weaned cattle?
Because of compensatory gain. I mean, the gains will be so much more on green cattle versus fed cattle. I mean, if they've bought many and turned them out and fed them, they can see the difference.
Agree with that. I think that's a pretty fair statement. You know, they're going to put it on quick.
Put it on cheaper. than most of them.
Yeah.
Again, I want to remind our attendees, if you have questions for our managers, we're getting to the end of the questions I had prepared. So we will be wrapping up unless you've got more out there. But as we kind of get to the end, guys, I really do appreciate your time. But I work with a lot of beginning producers that are just getting into the cattle business. What is a good way for them to develop a relationship with you all as a market manager? I know coming in and sitting down in your office can sometimes maybe be a little intimidating to those folks. Do you have any advice to give to them?
You know, and I think it's everybody, we'd be more than glad to come out and see them. You know, I know a lot of times, whatever fits people's schedule, but you know, we try to get out and see as many of our customers as we can on a daily basis and through the week. And if somebody's new getting into the industry or the business, you know, we'd give us a call. We'd be more than glad to come out and look at the program they have and you know, answer any questions that's there. And I think it's that way with any stockyard you do business with.
Yes, and we are all, these new producers are going to be the backbone of our futures. You know, so we may be, I hope we're not intimidating to them, but you know, look us up on Facebook, send us a message, call us. You know, like Mr. Towle said, you know, we'll come visit. You know, I mean, they're the whole future of this whole industry. They're a lot more important than they think they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of older generation in this business, but not a lot of young generation in this business, and we need to keep them involved if we can. That's for sure.
If you were to, what's something that a producer can do to help you get their cattle sold better? Is there one or two things just right off the top that just make your all's job as the guy in the ring easier in terms of management or the presentation of the cattle?
Good shot program would help. Probably the first thing, weaning, castration, you know, of the bulls, of course, things like that. But, you know, and then trying to use good genetics behind all that too. It all plays together, but that's probably the biggest 3 or 4 things I can think of right off the top of my head.
I agree. When you sell a good set of calves, they'll remember your name the next time. You know, if you take the time to wean them, castrate them, and, you know, get them straightened out. And when we say wean them, you know, 45 to 60 days, 60 days is better. Some people bring them in 2 weeks weaned, and, you know, that's more of a problem moving forward. People would rather have them off the cow as opposed to that. But I would agree with the gentleman from Washington County.
So to follow that up, does it make it easier if it's documented independently or on a form, or is it just as good having the producer's word of, you know, my cattle have had they're weaned and they've had their shots, or does it make it better when they bring the documentation with it?
think any information that a producer can give you, at time of sale or even before the sale, when you're out on the farm looking at these cattle, it sure does help the managers when they're implementing, when they're selling their cattle for them, because they can, we can say, hey, these have had this, this, and this, and they've been weaned X number of days, and it sure makes it easier for a livestock market to recommend those cattle and to stand behind them.
That's one thing that's helped our wean program is, when those cattle come in the ring, our buyers know, with the tag that we have put in there, that they're represented in what they've had, and that they've all had to follow a protocol to meet that program. And so that lets our buyers know right off when they hit the ring, what they've had, what's been done, and everything's been followed.
I agree. It's being consistent too. Every time you bring your cattle in, doing the same things that you do each time, with the shots and so forth. Those guys remember. Everybody that buy these cattle, they remember who done the right things and what they did, So
what you're saying is they need to communicate with you all.
yes.
Yes.
Communication.
So along that line, so if they communicate what they've done to you, do you all do extra work then to communicate with the buyers about the types and kinds of cattle that you're getting, program cattle that you're getting, so that they understand what those are?
I feel like Ryan and I's standpoint, we do just as much on both sides. One, we want the producer to do the best they can, but then from a manager standpoint, Ryan and I look at our job as letting the buyers know what these cattle have had, what the quality of these cattle are going to be, what the condition of these cattle are going to be, so that we can get the best we can, for these producers' cattle when they come to our sale. And I think it's that way with all these guys. You want to represent them, but a manager's job, that's part of it, is but working both sides. You have to let the buyers know what's going on, and with that, you're getting the most you can for your producer.
Do you all find it challenging to keep up with the emerging value-added programs and understanding what they are, so that you can best represent those kinds of cattle to those buyers, and making sure they understand what that means and the paperwork or all the things that go along with those kind of cattle?
It seems like it's continuously changing from one season to the next, but like I say, it's just as long as we communicate with the producers as well as the buyers, and let them know what's going on. That's the main thing. And like I say, it just changes.
Along that, so the next question from one of our attendees is, how does a small beef producer use, find, or understand what an order buyer does, and can they be used in a different manner? So I think maybe it's kind of, how do you understand what the order buyer's role in your all's markets, but also understanding what they're looking for too?
The order buyer's role is, he'll get different bids from different parts of the country or whatever. They're to place the kind of cattle the buyer is wanting. I'm not sure that the part of the end of that question, I'm not sure I understood it.
I think a lot of the, and maybe this is, I'm kind of infer into this a little bit, but from the seat I sit in and the producers I get the opportunity to talk to about marketing cattle with, they want to know what the buyer wants. They want to make sure they're raising the right kind of cattle for the customers that are coming into your all's barn to put bids in the ring.
Okay.
What is a good way do they need to develop a relationship with those buyers, or is it just back to communicating with you all to understand what you need to fill those orders?
It goes back to what some of these guys said before. It's all on communication, and when you go out to the farm and look at these cattle, getting the cattle described to the buyers correctly, and it goes back to genetics and weaned, and it's and then another thing, I mean, I know some of these other guys too. I mean, most of these markets have maybe quarterly meetings. Go to that and there's going to be several people there. Even some of the order buyers are going to be there. Go and get acquainted with everybody. It's communication is the biggest key in this whole business.
I agree.
And the next question is, feeder cattle weaned 60 to 90 days, 2 rounds of shots, wormed, should they bring more money than green cattle? So I think they're checking the management boxes and asking if those cattle should be bringing more than green cattle. I know we kind of touched on that earlier with the leaving some room for the next guy in terms of growth, but if you all want to touch on that a little bit more.
That's kind of why we started our program at Glasgow, was to get the producer more money for their efforts. Not only that, we talked about Kate genetics, making better cattle. We want to improve the reputation and quality of cattle coming from Kentucky, because they have to ship so far typically to get fed. What do you think, Brad? You got anything to expand on that?
And like I said, the green cattle, a lot of feed yard order buyers, farmer feeders, they're gonna want the greener the better. They put it on cheaper, but also when you get those cattle that are weaned and had their shots and the health is good on them, that's gonna depend on time of year, a lot of it, but it's gonna sell more when you've got those shots and the health is good, is gonna help better than the green cattle. And the light flesh cattle, like was said earlier, they're going to be certain times of year they're going to sell good, just for the time of year and where they're going, what part of the country they're going. Excuse me, what part of the country they're going in? Are they going back on grass? Are they going to a grow yard? There's factors there that go into play on those greener flesh cattle. Where they're going.
We talked about custodial accounts earlier, but there's a clarification question that's come up about what does a custodial account do to protect the seller at a sale barn?
Well, the custodial account, is a requirement for the stockyard, and it is also continuously monitored by packers and stockyards. We get annual audits on that to make sure we're in compliance and that our custodial accounts are sufficiently funded. And it guarantees a good check to the producer. That's just, it's so important, to understand that the custodial account is a trust account. And if you have a check that is drawn on a custodial account, that check is always good, always has to be honored. It never expires. Some places will put maybe void after 90 days, but that check is technically good forever. We are regulated. We are, have oversight from the government on that. And, you don't have that with the buying stations.
And I encourage our attendees that want to know more about the P&S oversight and the governance of a stockyard and custodial accounts to watch our video from last week's webinar. We really dug into this with Jim Carter and Dave Maples with the Livestock Marketing Association and the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association. And they really got in deep with this. So when we get that video posted, please go back and watch that, because it did have some really good information around custodial accounts and the protections for producers. The next question is, we talked earlier about the small producers, but this one goes a little bit more in depth about what can stockyards do to help level the playing field for a small 25 to 30 head cow-calf producer against some of these low lot type sales. And I know volume is the key to getting the best price, of being able to have that truckload, semi-load of calves. But are there anything else that we can do to kind of help level that playing field for our smaller producers?
I would, it would just be, not just with a program, but also that producer, weaning their cattle, having good genetics, taking those steps that they can do there on the farm. Like was said earlier, 2 or 3 people said earlier, buyers are going to remember those cattle. So if they can take those steps to wean their cattle, give the shots that need to be given, take good care of the animal, that's going to pay, whether it's in a load lot group or whether you're selling, each producer's cattle one at a time. The quality and the representation is what's going to sell and continue to sell.
And also, before each sale, we will send our list of order buyers. We'll send them out a list of our graded sheets or what we're going to have offered for sale through our way out sales. And, that helps get their cattle advertised out there a little better. And, it helps draw attention to their cattle.
And like Scott said, getting all the information out you can get, and getting it communicated to your manager to where when all these managers are right there in the ring when they're selling, that's your representation there at the sale day. Is even with our doc sheets, it has that information on it that we talk about before we sell your cattle, and most of your managers have been at your farm and seen your cattle, and they know how to represent it, and that's the biggest thing is communicate.
I agree.
The next question is, should a producer expect the manager to floor his cattle or make sure that they bring a better market price? Do you all floor cattle as they come through the ring?
No, it's, in accordance with Packers and Stockyards bylaws, it's not legal to floor any producer's cattle in a sale. It's, but, going out on the farm and looking at those cattle as managers, I think, you can give a producer, whether he's got 2 head or, 200, you can give him a better idea of what the cattle will bring.
I agree. And it gets back into communication too, just like we was talking before. If they call us a few days ahead of time, they can kind of get a trend of the market and know what's going on. That helps a whole lot. That way they're not, blindsided when they come in and think the market is one thing and it may be another. And that's probably the biggest thing. It's just communication on that.
This is the perfect time to talk about the buying station and the stockyard. A lot of these buying stations, they're going to, and somewhat they floor your cattle. They tell you what you're going to give for them, but when you do that, you take all your top end away. And this brings a perfect example of there was lots of cattle bought under what they would have been at a true market. When you get farmer, there's some of them, there's no limit. And all of us have seen that here in the last few weeks.
I agree with Brett. Put them in the sawdust.
That's right.
And you're seeing your commission at work. Every manager's out here looking at the cattle, trying to do what's in the best interest of you. Then when you bring them to the facility, they're taken care of throughout. You've got workers there that are, you've put the time and the effort and the work into your product. You want it taken care of, and you want it to bring the best price, and every yard, that's part of the commission that, you're getting from the time the manager's up at your farm looking at the cattle, to the time they enter the facility and leave, they're taken care of. You've got an idea what they're going to do. And then at the end, like we said at the beginning, you're insured, you got a good check. So you're seeing your commission work for you all the way through the process.
It's dollars well spent too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Might be the cheapest money ever spent.
It's a good investment.
Mhm.
Talking about commission here, but I mean, exactly that wasn't what the question was, but commission's the same as a feed cost. It's an input. It's an input in your calves. I mean, every one of these guys here would love to sell your cattle for free. I mean, we have overhead. These things cost a lot more to operate than what's seen on the outside. A lot more. And commission is no more than an input of feed or vaccinations, or it's an input into that calf.
Well put.
I agree. I pay the bills for a stockyard. I know it takes to run one.
So throughout the evening, you all have mentioned several times that you encourage the communication between yourselves and the consignor or the seller, and that they need to ask you to come out to their farm and look at your cattle. The question is how can you all afford, or can you justify visiting a lot of our small 10-head herds on their farm where they are all over Kentucky? I'm sure that you all put a lot of miles on a truck in a year, but can you all talk about that just a little bit?
I think Carver touched on it earlier. I mean, it's the small producers, the backbone of this industry, and so we want everybody here, I think, agrees that every producer is valued and every producer is respected, and all we want to do is our part to instill that they get paid for the product that they have.
Yeah.
It's a relationship. It's a relationship business.
Yeah, and you find out as time goes on that you may go visit them once, but after you get a rapport with them and you kind of know what they got and they know what you're doing, you can do a lot more over the phone. It might save time, and then if you still need to go see them, we go see them. So just the way it is.
It's a part. It's just part of the job. Stockyards. And hey, anybody thinks these guys won't come see them, we're all in competition together. We'll all show up the same day if we need to. We'll be there.
Meet for lunch.
So we haven't talked about trucking yet tonight, but there's a lot of miles between Kentucky and Nebraska or Kansas, Texas, Iowa. Who coordinates the trucking for the cattle that are going out west? And can you just talk a little bit about the trucking and the miles and
your order buyers, the guys that buy those cattle that are sending those, that have the orders from those feed yards or farmer feeders, they kind of set that up as far as getting the trucks lined up and getting those set up for delivery.
Are we seeing a shortage of truck drivers? Or was that just something that was prior to COVID? Or are we good in Kentucky?
In the fall, it's more of a problem than it is now.
Yeah. The next question is about insurance. Scott, you mentioned insurance a little bit ago, but the producer said, or the attendee says, from my understanding, cattle are insured from the time they leave the farm in case they are injured. Can you explain how the insurance works? I believe this is a good selling point for a producer to sell at a stockyard versus a buying station.
That is correct. That is something that is offered, and you'll not find that at a buying station. Whether the animal gets hurt in transit or gets hurt at the yard, that's what that insurance is for. And conversely, kind of an interesting time to pick on the buying stations, I guess. It's my understanding some of them are charging $9 a head insurance.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what that covers. It sounds like commission to me, but a rose by any other name would smell like a rose, I guess.
So I'm going to wrap this up for the evening, but I want to ask all of you one parting question. And I'd like for all of you to answer it. as we look forward to the next 18 months, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what are some parting comments that you could give our attendees tonight about things that they should be considering or looking at as they look to sell their cattle, maybe later this fall or even next spring?
Stay in touch with your local manager. You know, keep up with what's going on, because all of us know, hey, we would love to tell you what your calves are going to bring in October, but you know, we can go by some futures and do that, but you know, stay in touch with your managers and stay on top of this thing as good as you can, because it's a very changing situation, even, you know, every other day. You know, and we've all seen it. We've been in a market, and it's been one thing at 10 o'clock and it's been another thing at 12:30. You know, so just communication is the biggest thing. Talk to your managers, and hey, we may not always answer every time you call. We'll call you back. You know, just keep calling, you know, keep calling these managers, and every one of these guys want to talk to their customers. You know, we may be in a hurry at times, but trying to keep up with stuff, but we'll, you know, call us and aggravate us. We actually enjoy it.
Who wants to go? Johnny, you want to add anything to that?
I agree with him 100%. Probably the only thing is probably watch your commodities this summer. It seems like that's really dictating our market here, especially in the last 60 days. It's been pretty crazy with the soybeans and the corn. And watch those, watch what's going on with the market, and communication is a big thing. You know, keep talking to us because it changes for us every day too. So yeah, I guess that's about it.
Brad?
Same thing, you know, I agree with what these guys said. Communication, keep watching the markets. Also, you know, I'd encourage any producer out there, you know, always keep your eyes open, opportunities to enhance your program, whether it be through genetics, buying a bull, or keeping heifers, or whatever you do, but always look for opportunities there that you can add value right there on the farm. And then again, like these guys have said, stay in communication with everybody. Call us, come see us. We'll come see you throughout the year.
And Randall?
Yeah, I think we're coming up on the next cattle cycle, and I think it's a good time for these producers to finally maybe reap the rewards that we've been, you know, striving to get here for the last 3 or 4 years. It's, you know, it's been pretty tough, and I think stay diligent and, you know, do your jobs, and I think things will be fine for everybody. And, you know, like everybody else said, communication's a key, and hopefully better times are ahead.
Great. I really do appreciate all of you all participating with me this evening. We had a really nice comment from one of the attendees that I just want to share with all of you. It says, I'm a significant proponent of the sale barns. If producers don't have this avenue to market their product, we are all in trouble. So I'm going to leave you with, keep up the good work. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you do every single day for helping our Kentucky cattle producers across the state market their cattle and do a good job for them. We really do appreciate it. With that, I appreciate and thank all of our attendees for joining us tonight. As a reminder, you can still register for next week's webinar where we will talk about value-added marketing opportunities and different sales that are out there across the state for you to participate in. I appreciate all of your questions this evening, and I thank our market managers for their time as well. Have a good night.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.